Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to the first edition of a brand new review series where I am going to be talking about Superman and Lois Season 2 and also welcome to the first review of 2022. And today I am going to be talking about the Season 2 premiere, Episode 1, What Lies Beneath, which I have just finished watching, and this episode was absolutely fantastic. I loved season one, and this has already got off to an amazing start already. And the season two premiere pretty much picks up 3 months after the end of the season one finale, where we saw John Henry Irons' daughter, Natalie from Another Earth, arrive in Smallville, much to the shock of Lois and Clark and Jonathan and Jordan. And also, this episode kind of teased who the main villain is going to be. More on that in a moment. So, most of this episode pretty much sees Natalie trying to adjust to being in Another Earth after a renegade version of Superman destroyed her world, as well as murdering her mum, Lois. So there was lots of drama and lots of tension going on here because Lois isn't used to the idea of Natalie being around, especially as she miscarried her own child, who she was going to name Natalie also. And also, throughout most of this episode, we see lots of strange earthquakes, lots of strange tremors going on. And we also see with Superman, he's getting these very intense, weird visions that really play on his mind a lot. So obviously, he's seeing something quite dangerous and dark, which kind of ties into the ending of this episode as well, which I am also going to be talking about. And this episode, as I mentioned, absolutely fantastic. Really felt like a movie. I've said that countless times back in the season one review series of Superman and Lois. You know, the budget's very high, the music's very powerful, the way it's shot, you can really see that they really pulled out all the stops for this show. And there was a cool moment in this episode where Superman goes to save a sinking submarine with a bunch of military Koreans, and he just like lifts it up, and if you freeze frame it at just the right moment, I'm not joking, it actually looks like Brandon Routh. You know, it was a very, very good moment. And we are also introduced to a new character, Lieutenant Anderson, who more or less takes over the role of General Sam Lane, who stepped down at the end of season one. And he's recruited two youngsters to essentially be his new super army. And they're wearing the Superman shield, blue and red uniforms, much to the shock of Superman. And you can clearly see with these two, they're butting heads already. Lieutenant Anderson wants Superman on his side and to swear allegiance to America. And we see Superman has already declared that I've declared my allegiance to the world a long time ago. I don't need to declare myself to you. So there's clearly going to be some tension over the course of the next few episodes with these two. So there wasn't really essentially a main villain in this episode. As I said, this episode just more or less kind of carries on from the end of the season one finale. And as I said, it picks up about 3 months later. So overall, I thought this was an amazing episode, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how season two is going to play out. Now, let's talk about it. In this episode, as I said already, there was lots of earthquakes, lots of strange tremors, lots of pounding, hard, aggressive pounding. You know exactly where I'm going with this, don't you? Now, at the end of this episode, the camera panned deep, deep underground and we saw a fist punch out. Now, for those of you who are already familiar with what I'm talking about, Death of Superman. That's right. In Death of Superman, we saw a fist punch out of the ground, and we all know who came out of the ground. Doomsday. Now, it's a strong possibility that we could see Doomsday as the main villain for season 2. I would personally like to see Doomsday, but I feel that bringing Doomsday in, if they are going to go that way, is a bit soon because we're only in the second season of Superman and Lois. Maybe season 3 they could bring him in, or maybe season 4. It depends really, but I'm not totally dismissing the idea of bringing in Doomsday because Doomsday on a TV budget hasn't always worked. With the exception of Krypton, I thought they did an excellent job with Doomsday, in terms of character presentation, his look, everything. I felt they did a really good job with Doomsday. Smallville, not so much. Batman v Superman, it was okay, but it wasn't the Doomsday we all know and love. So it looks like at the end of this episode, they're clearly teasing Doomsday to be the main villain. I could be wrong, it could be someone completely different, but how many villains do you know punch out of the ground like that? Not many. There's only Doomsday. So we'll just have to see, really. But I thought the way they ended this episode with a fist coming out of the ground or attempting to punch its way out of the ground was a very chilling way to end the season 2 premiere of the show. I thought, this was like, wow, okay. This is going to be big. This is going to be dark. This could be very, very brutal. What could it be? And another thing I wanted to point out was when we saw the fist punch out, it was wearing a suit. Now, when Doomsday first made his appearance, he wore like this dark green camouflage suit with red goggles. Now, you couldn't really see properly in this one because it was quite dark, but it looked like a mechanical suit of sorts. So it could be Doomsday, or it could be someone else, but Doomsday's the only one I can think of. But we'll just have to see, really. But overall, nothing bad to say about this episode. Off to a fantastic start. Lois trying to get used to the idea of Natalie being around, and that's a very interesting story in itself. And also, Lois and Clark having tension or having tense moments is very rarely you see that because Lois and Clark are like the ultimate super couple, no pun intended. You very rarely ever see them arguing. They're always usually on the same page. And for this episode anyway, seeing Lois and Clark not on the same page was quite interesting because, as I said, it's not something you see very often. So they're going places, going different directions. I love it. Off to a great start. Awesome tease at the end of this episode. I would like to think if it is Doomsday, I hope they get him right because I love Doomsday. He's one of my favourite Superman villains. He's definitely in my top 5. Brainiac obviously being number 1. I would probably put Doomsday maybe number 3 at least, or number 2. It changes all the time, but he's definitely in my top 5, or at least my top 3 favourite Superman villains of all time. And we also saw Jordan and Sarah. They kind of like got some we know they got a relationship going, but Sarah's been acting very, very weird since she came back to Smallville. We see Jonathan's got his own girlfriend, which we saw a hilarious moment where Lois kind of walked in on Jonathan and his new girlfriend. So there was a little bit of something for everyone. So you had a bit of humour, you had a bit of seriousness, you had some drama, you had a bit of darkness. You just had everything going on. So as I said, off to a great start. Love the first episode. I think season 2 is going to be a real good one, just like the first one. I loved season 1 a lot, and I think this one's going to be just as good. I wouldn't like to say better, but we'll see. But I think it has the potential to be a real good season. So let's just wait and see really what happens. So that's going to be it from me. I am going to wrap this up now. What did you guys think of the season 2 premiere of Superman and Lois? Did you enjoy it? And what was your thoughts on this new character, Lieutenant Anderson, bringing in two new youngsters with superpowers for his super army? What's your thoughts about that? And also, what about this idea of Superman pledging his allegiance to Lieutenant Anderson? How do you think that story is going to unfold? And also, what do you think that was at the end of the season 2 premiere? What was that punching its way out of the ground? Is it Doomsday? Could it be something else? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Superman and Lois Season 2 review series, where I am going to be talking about episode 2, which I am really looking forward to seeing, especially with the way this episode ended. Should be a good one. Lots to talk about there. So until next time, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And as always, thanks for listening.